So I finally got around to upgrading my cage for my action camera. This is the Smallrig cage for the Osmo Action. Let's take a look. So I've had the Osmo Action for about a year now, and I've loved this camera. Sure, I've used GoPro cameras and other action cameras in the past, but the big thing about this one for me was, first of all, it was on sale when I got it, and it came with the 3 extra batteries. I love a deal, I gotta tell you that. But the other thing I really like about this camera is the dual screens. I mean, when this came out, that was awesome. The fact that you can monitor yourself while shooting and not doing the guesswork, which you had to do with a GoPro at the time, was awesome. And I think the fact that DJI came out with that, I think they sold a lot of these cameras because of that. Oh, I realized I forgot to introduce myself. If you're new to the channel, my name is Dave, and I do a lot of filmmaking tips and camera gear reviews on this channel. If you want to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button. If not, that's okay. Maybe one of my other videos is something that you like. So let's get into the Smallrig cage for the Osmo Action. I should say I was pretty darn happy with the original cage that came with the Osmo Action when I bought it. I thought it was great. It did the job. Essentially, it was a GoPro case for the Osmo Action. It fit everything properly. It worked really, really well. Sure, it was made of plastic, but it was pretty sturdy, and you can mount it to anything, which I love. The fact that, you know, very universal with GoPro mounts, great. I love that. However, this year I've decided I'm going to start a new channel. It's not up yet, so don't go looking just yet. Well, maybe it is by the time you watch this. But anyways, I'm starting a second channel, and it's all about camping, outdoors, kayaking, hiking, that kind of stuff. So I decided I wanted to pick up the game of getting more interesting shots, and of course, having an action camera for that is great. You can get these cameras and put them in weird locations that you just can't put another camera. Right now, I'm shooting with the Sony a6400. I love this camera, but you gotta be much more careful with one of these mirrorless cameras than you are with a action camera, and the Osmo Action is perfect for that. You can shove this thing anywhere, and I have. So I knew I wanted to get a little bit of a more sturdy cage for this, but I also wanted to get a cage that I can mount a microphone to. Now, I had a workaround to make my old Osmo Action cage work with a microphone, and it worked really, really well, but I needed something smaller. One of the things I plan to do is rigging this to my kayak. So when I'm paddling or going to do canoe camping or something, I can have it easily accessible on the kayak with a mount, and I can have it and I can vlog with it, and I can just get some great shots with it. But in order to do that, I'm pretty rough with a kayak. I'm not one of these great boatsmen who's very, very careful with their kayaks. I try to be, and I try to be careful with this. But again, that's one of the reasons I needed a more sturdy cage, because I know I'm careful with my gear, but I know at some point I'm gonna smack it pretty hard. And you know what? I have already my third outing on the kayak. Sure enough, I banged it pretty hard. And you know what? It was fine. Not even a dent, not even a scratch on the case, which is great. But having that peace of mind knowing that if something does happen, and it will, I have a little bit extra protection for my camera, is a little bit of peace of mind for me that I don't really have to worry about it. Because one of the worst things is, let's say I'm going canoe camping or kayak camping, I get out there and I start to shoot, and sure enough, within the first half hour, I do something stupid and I bang it up against a rock, and I have no use of that camera for the rest of the trip. And I plan on using this camera a lot, not as my main camera, but as a B camera to get lots of good B-roll. But now if I've lost it, I can't use it on the kayak, I can't use it at the camping trip, can't use it for anything else that I wanted to use it. So now I've lost control of that camera and I can't use it. So I'm really hoping that this cage will help me be able to use this camera a lot more in different situations. The fact that this is more protection for the camera is great. That's the number one thing, and that's why I bought this. However, the functionality on this little case is incredible. I should mention this is the second version of the case from Smallrig. The first cage had some issues. It did a great job protecting it, but if you wanted to use your audio adapter to get your microphone attached to your external microphone, it didn't fit, and that was a problem. I'm not sure if it was a chicken and the egg kind of thing, who built the cage first and then the audio adapter came out. I'm not sure. But fortunately, Smallrig came out with the idea to adapt this cage, to change it just a bit so that it could fit the audio adapter really nice, so you can get the audio, external audio on this, and it works really, really well and is very, very easy to use. So it's a great cage to protect. However, the other thing I love about this is the fact that you can access everything that you wanted to right here on the cage without taking the cage off. I mean, that is incredible. The fact that you could take the battery off and replace it when you need it and the battery died, for me alone, that's worth the upgrade to the cage. I love that idea, and you cannot do that with the old cage. With the old mount and the old cage that came with the Osmo Action, you can't do that, and that's fine. That's not what it was intended for. But the fact that Smallrig came out with a cage to protect it and gave you access to everything is great. I mean, you can access your micro SD if you needed to. You can even plug it in if you need to use a battery bank to give you some more power for time lapses or anything like that. You know, they've thought of those things, and that's great. I also love the fact that it is adaptive, meaning you can add your own mounts to it. Sure, it comes with a mount, and that's great, which will work just like a GoPro mount, but you can also add different things to it. For me, I love having a ball mount attached to it. The fact that you can attach this ball mount, and now you have control. You can swivel, you can do anything else. A lot of times with the GoPro style adapter, you cannot swivel, so if you wanted to get a different shot, let's say again, I'm on the kayak and I wanted to turn to get a nice shot of a crane sitting beside, you know, the water and the rocks, a beautiful shot, then I just turn it and I can get it. It almost looks like a gimbal shot because I'm moving nice and smooth. In order to do that with the old mount, you kind of really had to rig it up and much more difficult to make that move. So the fact that you can mount this with the little screw holes is great. If you want to go with the GoPro mount, you can still do that as well. I love that. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with the audio that comes directly out of the camera. However, it's not great. It's good for an action camera, right? Action cameras aren't meant to have really good audio. They're meant for good video, and they just kind of throw in the audio as a bonus. For me, if I'm, like I said, on a bike or on a kayak, I want to get better audio, and the wind really distorts the microphone on these. You can get a little windsock for them, and that's great. But for me, I already have a couple microphones that I want to use with this, and I actually have the Rode Video Micro. This is a fantastic little microphone. If you are shooting anything vlogging style or anything outdoors or anything, this is a fantastic microphone. You don't need a battery, so you don't have to worry about the battery dying and you're losing your audio. You just plug it in and it works. I love the fact that things just plug it in and you work. So this cage allows you to put the audio adapter right here on the side. You just pop off the little door and you're good to go. I love that. It's nice and simple. And then you plug in your audio. Then now you can decide where you want your microphone to go. Sometimes I'll put it up here. However, it can get in the way of the screen. I don't want that. So you have the option of putting it to the side. I love the fact that you have an option on a tiny little case like this. So if I'm shooting this way on the side, you think about it, I'm shooting like this, you know, it's further out. I'm gonna get good audio, and the microphone, because it's so small, is out of the way. You can take this dead cat off and the microphone will still work, of course. However, for me, like I said, if you're outdoors, you're worried about the wind, this is really going to help you when it comes to the wind. So if you look at that now, the cage itself is doing its job. It's holding the audio adapter nice and snug in its spot, and it's also holding the microphone. All I need to do is attach it to my rig and I'm good to go to shoot whatever I want. I love that. It's nice and easy. And easy is good when it comes to me and shooting, because I'm gonna screw some stuff up for sure. We always do. This makes it a little easier to screw up less. Does that make any sense? A little easier to screw up less? Sure. Now, I will say you do need to be careful when putting this little bad boy, of course, I put the door on now, it goes on first try. You gotta practice to make sure that it goes on properly. And for me, I wanna make sure that it's on there properly. Same with the batteries, so that if you're shooting underwater or any place where you're going to get wet, a waterfall or something like that, you want to make sure that all the gaskets are sealed and everything's sealed so you can maintain the waterproof function of the camera. One of the biggest things when I did get this, I was worried about, because it's metal and I'm going to be shooting outdoors a lot, is the heat. Was this thing going to capture the heat and, you know, make a little oven of my camera? Adding heat to a camera is never a good thing. So I'm shooting outdoors a lot of times, the sun's directly hitting it. It gets pretty hot in the summer here in Canada, so you kind of got to be worried about that. For me, it's going to be the big test this summer when I get out on some camping trips to see if in fact this thing does heat up, which it will, but does it heat up the camera enough to affect the quality? Will it stop working the camera? Will it affect it? Will it have to shut off and cool down? I'm not sure. I'm really hoping the fact that there's lots of available space and lots of available space for air holes for the air to get in and out to keep it cool. I'm really hoping that that doesn't cause an issue. I'm definitely happy with most of the functionality of this little case. One of the things I don't love, but I understand, is how you mount it to the camera. Now there's these little screws in the back here, which are kind of like thumb screws, but not really. If you want to get it tight enough, you kind of have to use the Allen key, which is fine, but it's just one extra step, right? Some people might love the fact that you can use it like that, because you kind of, in the back of your mind, kind of guaranteeing it's not going to open up, because now you screwed it with the Allen keys. And I'm one of those people. I like to know that my gear is protected. Now, so I should mention actually that I'm using the ND filters on this. Every time I shoot outdoors, I use the ND. This is ND from Freewell. This is ND 32. I didn't buy a pack. I have the ND 32, and that's it. The most times when I'm shooting outdoors in the bright outdoors, the ND 32 comes in handy. Sure, in the future I might upgrade and get the ND 16 or maybe something like that, but for now I'm pretty happy with that. Anyways, getting back to the cage. It's so nice and easy to use. Sure, you have to keep an Allen key with you, but for me, I just keep it in the case that I have and I'm good to go. It slips in very, very easily. You know, there's no movement, and all you have to do is tighten it. Like again, you can tighten everything by hand, which is great. If that's what you want to do, great. And if you're working quickly and you want to do something, that's great. You can do that. But if you want a peace of mind, go ahead and tighten it with the Allen key and you know you're good to go. I have to be honest, since I bought this cage, the cage has not left the camera since I got it. I just leave it on there now because I can access everything. The micro SD card, if I want to take the door off, I can do that, add the audio. Batteries, that's the biggest one for me, is the battery. So this cage lives on this now. The only time I take it off is to clean. And because I'm using this outdoors, sure enough, I have to take it off to clean it. And that's fine, I just take it off, I wipe it down, I rinse it, and I'm good to go. It really does a great job of protecting this. I have smacked this some pretty good times, mainly in the mud while I'm kayaking. And the mud's not really gonna do a lot of damage, but it has no problems protecting this cage. Now, I have got a little silicone protection for the lens itself that I will put on when I'm not using it. So if I'm going biking, if I'm going hiking or anything like that, I know that I'm outdoors and there's a chance I might bang the lens, because of course this does not protect the lens, and I don't really want to get any kind of protection for the lens. I like it minimal like this, but when I'm walking or carrying or going anywhere else, I want to have a little bit of a protection for the lens. I have a silicone case coming for that literally just goes over the lens and protects it, and that's going to be great. So when I'm traveling or setting anything up, I know that it's on there. I just have to remember to take the silicone lens cover off before I shoot. I'm not saying I've done that in the past, but I've done that in the past. Anyways, I definitely recommend this if you can pick this up. This one was from Amazon, but pick it up from anywhere, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It's one of those things that you just slap it on there and that's it. You forget about it. You don't really worry about it. It gives you the functionality for the mics and everything else, and also gives you protection, so a peace of mind. For me, that's worth it. It's a little bit expensive. I think I paid around 35 Canadian, which I'm not sure how it works out to where you live. So it's a little bit expensive, but for the most part, I think because it's protecting your gear and it's not gonna break on you, hopefully, it's one of those things, it's an investment, and I am more willing to pay that if it's going to work properly. And it doesn't add a lot to the camera. It doesn't make it a lot heavier, a lot more bulky, which I like. I like the small form factor of this. So what about you? Do you have this cage? Do you have another cage that you like? Maybe you hate cages and you don't want to use any cages. Hey, that's fine. It's your camera. You do what you want with your camera. Anyways, let me know what you think of this cage in the comments. There are other cages out there. I'm not just saying that the Smallrig one is the one you have to get. I'm just saying if you have an idea to shoot more outdoors and you think you're going to risk the camera a little bit and you want to upgrade to a better cage, go ahead and do it. There are a lot of good cages out there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.